Hello, everybody. It's Camille, Aiko. I hope that you are living the life that you love, spiritually, mentally, physically, and financially. It is late. It is 12:30 something my time, but of course I had to get it in. No excuses on why we would not discuss Chapter 22 of the 10X rule. So if you are up and alert and you're going to watch this live, drop a 1 below. If you're going to catch this on replay, drop a 2. Like, share, love, all of that good stuff. Hey Antonio, hey Wilbert, for the drawing, go ahead and share this. We'll do cash prizes, gift cards, and health and wellness products. So we got one more drawing left to do. And let me see, what else? I guess that's it, right? So we are on chapter 22. We got one more chapter to go after this. Hey, what's going on, Rico? Hey, Alicia. One more chapter after this. We'll be on chapter 23. And then guess what? We would have done it, guys. We would have completed the 10X rule. I was just going over my goals today, and I'm like, you know what? There are some areas that I have been thinking too small in. And so hopefully you guys have been thinking that as well and increasing those goals so that we can live that 10X life. Hey, what's going on, Bradford? So this book is by Grant Cardone. Many of you who are on here now know what the 10X rule is, but for those of you who are new, the 10X rule is when you put in 10 times more effort, 10 times more thought into your goal so that you can have a 10X reality, which essentially is saying you have put in enough effort and thought to achieve more than what you ever thought possible. And so therefore, you're not moving your target to be beneath what your goal is, but you aim higher. And then that way, if you miss, you still are right at the place that you wanted to be at. So chapter 22. Successful people versus unsuccessful people. Now, if you don't have this book, it really is Grant going through characteristics of successful people. And he says that he has studied successful people over the years, and he gives 32 tips. I'm not going over all 32 tips, so you want to make sure you grab the book or get the Cliff Notes somewhere. Because we are only going to hit on some of them. Hey, Chauncey, what's going on? All right. So before we even hop into this, I was reminded of a story that I hear all the time in my industry. And this is about a gentleman who was on the beach and he was catching crabs. So he's sitting there and he's putting the crabs in his bucket. And there's a guy who walks by the gentleman and he's like, sir, shouldn't you put a lid on the bucket because the crabs are going to get out? And the man kind of laughed and smirked and he was like, no, I'm not going to do that. He said, if there was only one crab in here, absolutely I would, because it would try and get out of this bucket. But because there are so many in here, if one tries to get out, the others pull them down. Hey, what's going on, Eric? And so with this is going to, the point of that story is that as we are striving for success and we're striving to break free from our comfort zone and we're striving to break free from what the average person is doing, there are going to be people who try and pull you back down in the bucket. They don't want you to escape this life of mediocrity. They don't want you to do any better than what they're doing. They want you to be as comfortable and miserable in that bucket as they are. But we have to fight for our dreams. We have to fight for our goals, and we can't allow anything to stop us. So don't be the crabs in the bucket who get comfortable because everybody else is in the bucket. But you want to make sure that you are pushing through to get to the top. See, the guy who was going after the crabs, he wasn't even worried about, I'm not even going to worry about putting this lid on them because they're not going anywhere. That can't be us. We can't be the person that nobody else is worried about because we're not going anywhere. We are a force to be reckoned with. We dominate. We are in control of our lives. And that's how we have to take every action, every moment, every day of our lives. All right. So he goes on to start off the book, and this is on page 159 if you actually have the book, the distinctions between these two groups have nothing to do with economics, education, or demographics. I mean, really think about it. We know people who have come from affluent neighborhoods. We know people who have come from poor neighborhoods, but they have been able to make it outside of their situations. And what really has set the difference between these people is the intrinsic value of the success that they are trying to reach. That there has got to be something within you. And this is actually one of the points. So I know all the time I jump ahead of myself, but it is so key to understand that no matter where you're from, no matter what your family background is, no matter what experiences you have the opportunity to get to the top, to reach your level of success. And we know that success, again, we define that for ourselves. I got a video from a fish market of live crabs pulling one another down. They clamp on too. Yeah, they clamp on them. They want to make sure like, hey, you are not leaving this bucket. You are not leaving the rest of us. We will all be miserable together. Absolutely. So maybe do you have a link to that, Chauncey? You can put it below so that we can check it out. All right. So first of the 32 different characteristics that Grant says that we need to develop if we want to be successful is have a can-do attitude and a can-do approach to everything. A lot of times we get into this place where we're like, oh, well, I think that I can. Oh, well, I'm trying, and that's not going to get us anywhere. Crawfish are the same way, right? So we don't want to be the crabs. We don't want to be the crawfish. But we want to be the people who have the can-do attitude, who is going to make it outside of what everybody else is doing. Because we know that retreating, doing nothing, and taking average actions are not going to get us to the place that we want to be. It is those types of things that has gotten us to where we are right now. And many of us are still striving for greater. We know that we have more capabilities inside of us. We know that our potential is much greater. And so we have to approach things with a can-do attitude and stop retreating back. Stop saying, I don't know if I can do it. Stop saying, I don't know if this was for me. Because we can get to a point where we talk ourselves right out with the wrong attitude. But with a can-do attitude, we push forward. He says, number 2, believe that I will figure it out. And this kind of goes hand in hand with the can-do attitude. I will figure it out. That once you say, okay, I can do this, it can happen, then you have to say, okay, what is it that I will do to figure it out? Not just say, you know what, it's just not possible. It's just not going to happen. They probably can't do it. But we have to figure out a way. So he says, the I will figure it out belief refers to the individual who is always looking to be responsible to solve a problem. The successful people are looking for ways to solve problems and not use problems as an excuse on why we can't achieve our goals. No one values a person who not only doesn't have the information, but doesn't want to know the information. We have to be the type of people that says, you know what, I don't have it right now, but give me a second, or I will find the right people who are going to be able to find the answer to the problem. That's how we need to be thinking. That's how successful people think. And we need to make sure that we are copying that of those who have reached their level of success, because it's not necessarily that what we desire as success is their level of success, but the fact that they've actually reached it. Those are the principles that we need to take with us and begin to live our lives that way, so that when we set a goal, when we say, okay, here's my 10x goal, we actually reach it. And it's not just a goal, but it's something that comes to fruition. All right. So the next thing is focus on opportunity. Again, I'm not going to go through all of these because there's 32 of them. I'm just doing brief little snippets of each one. So you guys feel free to chime in. I'll probably mention them, but I just won't go over all of them. All right. So number 3 is focus on opportunity. Successful people see all situations, even problems and complaints, as opportunity. Where others see difficulty, successful individuals know that problem solved equals new products, services, customers, and probably financial success. So we have to remember, and Grant is reminding us here, that success is overcoming challenges. We reach success when we overcome challenges. What challenges in your life do you need to overcome? What challenges in your business do you need to overcome? What challenges on your job do you need to overcome? What challenges in your health do you need to overcome? What challenges in your relationships do you need to overcome? That is when we find success, when we are able to overcome those challenges, because that is what is going to take us to the next level. That means we had to put in more thought. That means we had to put in more effort to think our way out of the situation that we were in, because we know that we cannot get out of a situation at the same level of thinking in which it was created. We have to begin to think bigger. We have to begin to find different resources, that we can't just stay at that same level. It's all about growth. Do you want to grow? Or are you at the place where you're like, no, I've learned it all. I've achieved it all, and I don't want to grow anymore. And if you're at that place, I beg of you to reanalyze and rethink your life, because once you stop growing, you're dying, like mentally, spiritually, physically, you just start dying. And so you maybe not in the sense where you don't have any more breath in your body, but you begin to go downhill. You'll see it in your finances. You'll see it in the way that your body looks. You'll see it in the way that you think about things. But the sad part is that some of us don't even see it. It's like it's happening and we don't even realize how bad off we are, because we've just accepted that as a way of life. And so hopefully none of us are there. Of course you're not there. That's why you're on here with me, right? Learning about the 10X rule by Grant Cardone. So for those of you who are just joining in, we're on chapter 22, and I'm going through the 32 characteristics that successful people have, and kind of discussing some of the successful versus unsuccessful people characteristics. All right. The only person who stands out in the opportunity focused is the opportunity focused individual who sees those problems as openings for success. So when we have problems, we have to see that they are openings for success. We have to know that if there's a problem on our job, that if you come up with a solution, that's opportunity for you. And if you're in a place where there's a problem on your job and your boss gets upset for you because you found the solution, then you might want to rethink where you're working, because you should be in an environment where people want to see you grow, where people want to see you win, when people want to see you make it to the top. If they just want to hold you down and control you because they don't want to look dumb, or they don't want to look like they don't have the intelligence or the smarts, then that's the wrong place for you to be in, because you will find yourself in that crab bucket every time. Those are the people who are like, nope, come on back down here. You can't get out the bucket. And then you'll settle and be like, all right, well, everybody else is here, so I'll just stay here. That's not the life that we're going for. That's not what we're talking about in the 10X rule. You are not the crab being pulled down. You are not the crab who is saying, I'm going to stay in this bucket. You are the one who is going to fight with all of your might to get up and out of there. All right, number 4 is that people who are successful, they love challenges. All right, they don't just say, oh, a challenge is coming, let me retreat. Highly successful individuals are compelled and invigorated by challenges. It shouldn't be to the point where you look at a challenge and you're just like, oh, well, it's not worth it. If you look at a challenge when it comes down to your goals and you say it's not worth it, then your goals are not big enough. The reason why you want to achieve those goals are not big enough. So then number 5 is seek to solve problems. I'm not going to go into that one, but number 5 is seek to solve problems. And that really goes hand in hand with the other ones that we have been talking about. Persist until successful. The ability to persist on a given path regardless of setbacks, unexpected events, bad news, and resistance. To continue steadfastly or firmly in some state, purpose, or course of action in spite of conditions is a trait common to those who make it. Guys, are you willing to persist until you find success? Or are you saying, you know what, it didn't work out for me on the first go round, I quit. I'm just going to go and take this job that has nothing to do with my purpose, that has nothing to do with my calling, that has nothing that excites me in the morning when I have to get up and go to this job. Are you dreading what you're doing, or are you persisting until you are successful? Because this is a very high quality that you must have if you are going to go after your 10x goals. If you are going to go after your dreams, you've got to say, I am going to push until I make it. I'm going to strive until I make it. I am going to implement until I make it. You persist until successful. And this is even in the midst of adversity. This is in the midst of people who come against you. This is in the midst of people who will talk about you. Those critics that we talked about in a couple chapters before. There's one example that Grant gives that he had to deal with. And he says, I know that any endeavor I tackle will require me to persist 10x actions until all resistance morphs into support. I was listening to a little rap battle today. It was a little girl rapping, and she was just saying, now I got to go get some more haters because now they all like my flow, right? And so that's almost how it needs to be, that you have to persist until even your haters decide that they want to support you, and persist until they're like, you know what? I like their style. I like what they're doing. So here is one of the things that Grant did. He said, I merely keep going until the course changes and my ideas are maintained instead of defied. For example, I had a heckler on Facebook whose support I tried to gain but couldn't. So what he did, instead of deleting that person, he got all of his supporters to give their perspective on what this person was coming against him on. And he got so much support from that, and so many people having a positive say on the thing that heckler was coming at him for, that they just disappeared. See, when you have people who are coming against you with adversity, then what you want to do, one of the tactics is then to gain so much support that they become irrelevant. Gain so much support that they become irrelevant. If you can't get them to be on your side and smooth things over and they're not for you, then you make sure that you overcome that situation with success. Have people start chiming in, letting them know, like, hey, we're not having this here. You're not going to come for me and my people, right? That's how we need to be. That's how you're able to persist and until you're successful, because a lot of times it gets lonely out here. You're running your own business. You're trying to be successful on your job. You're trying to be successful in your relationships, but you don't want everybody all up in your business. Then you have to get to a point where you can strategize and strategically place people where they need to be so that you can have the success that you need and persist and not give up. All right. So then point number 7 is take risk. You want to take risk, and hopefully that's clear. So those things, guys, that have been holding you back, that you've been scared about stepping out there and doing it, those are the very things that you need to get out there and take a risk. Number 8, be unreasonable. The people who are most unreasonable are the people who have been the game changers. Hey, Brian, what's going on? So you have to ask yourself, do I want to be the person who is just like everybody else? Am I the crab in the bucket, or am I the game changer? So he says, think about it. Will we have cars, airplanes, space travels, telephones, and the internet, in addition to thousands of other things that we take for granted, if no one hadn't done something that another person had labeled unreasonable? They thought it was crazy to use a phone. And then they really thought it was crazy to use a cell phone. And then they thought it was crazy to fly. And they thought it was crazy to do all of these other things, go out into space, right? And Grant is saying that it's okay if people think that you're being unreasonable. It's okay if people think that you are being crazy. If you understand that it's truly going to solve a problem, if it's going to be a resource that people use, then go for it. Find your supporters, persist until you are successful. Stop looking around wondering what other people are going to think about you. Those negative people, right? Because you have to have people who actually like your product. But those people who can't see the vision, the people who just want to pull you down, the people who just want to talk badly about you because they didn't come up with an idea, so now they're envious. They're envious of the fact that you are ready to put in the work, that you are ready to make some changes, that you want to make an impact in the world and in somebody else's life. Like, you got to let those people go. You cannot allow them to get into your subconscious mind. You have to push them out. Say, there is no room for you here. I give you an eviction notice. Goodbye. So long. Farewell. Number 9, he says to be dangerous. A lot of times we are taught at a very early age, and this goes for most of us, be careful. Be careful. We hear that so much. And we hear that so much that it's ingrained in our minds that in the times where we actually need to be risky, where we need to be dangerous, we can't, because we have this be careful mindset. And so this even goes to, people just living life. Like, you can't even live your life to the fullest if you're just always being so careful and so cautious. Like, oh my goodness, I would never do that. Like, I would never, some people have never gotten on a plane because they just are too careful. All right, so there's certain things that we miss out on in our lives because we're not being dangerous enough. So he says many people get to the point where they're so intent upon avoiding danger that they cease to truly live life. Being careful requires you to take actions cautiously, and there is no way you will ever hit 10x activity by being cautious. Massive action demands that you throw caution to the wind, even if it puts you in the path of danger. He says, now, and even though you're going in this path of danger, you do need to be trained and you do need to be prepared. And that's the first part of the 10X rule, right? To put in enough thought, which means you've gone out and you've gotten the training and you have the skills that you need to an extent so that when you're out here, even though you're in a dangerous situation, you are not ill-equipped. You are equipped to do what you need to do, but you're not afraid of it, okay? And so to do something big, you have to embrace danger. The way to ensure that danger doesn't kill you is to be sufficiently trained so that you can get into the ring and come out a victor, right? So even when you think about sports like boxing, we know that boxing can be dangerous, but before they get in the ring, they have had some training. They have gotten some coaching, right? And so they are equipped to get into the ring. So before you get into the ring, you want to make sure that you have been equipped, that you have been trained, but then go out there and dominate, all right? So number 10 is create wealth. Poor people believe they need to work in order to make money and then spend their lives either spending it on nothing of importance or conserving like crazy in order to protect it. That's poor people. Now, if you're in that category, it's okay. Now you know, and we're going to do something different about it. Number 2, the very successful know that the money is already created, because we've talked about there's no shortage of money. Money has already been created. Now it's up to us, though, the very successful, to think in terms of generating wealth through the exchange of new ideas, products, services, and solutions. So if we want to be successful, then we have to shift our thinking from just going to work and then taking that money and spending it or preserving it to the point where you can't even use it because you're just stacking it up, right? But he's saying, think of generating wealth through exchanging ideas and services and products and solutions. And he says, number 3, the very, very successful realize that they're not bound by shortages. They know that money exists in abundance and flows to those who create products, services, and solutions. And that wealth is not limited to a monetary supply. Guys, we have access to what it is that we want. If it's money, you can have it. If it's a healthy relationship, you can have it. If it's a thriving business, you can have it. If it's a great mindset where you're not controlled by dangerous emotions, you can have it. If it's a great relationship with God, you can have it. See, the creating wealth isn't always about monetary things, but it's about in every aspect of your life being able to overcome those challenges and not just be satisfied, but be in abundance with what you can have. Nailed in. Hey, sister, I love you. How you do this, very spiritual and real. I wanted you to know that the book is always showing up backwards. Yeah, it's because it's in selfie mode, but it's the 10x rule. The 10x rule. All right. So think in terms of creating money and wealth, not salaries and conservation of funds. All right. So we're thinking about how can we bring in income to us, because we are generating wealth and we're not just going to work for a job. You know, today I saw a post and it was a news post, and there was over 24 cities that was starting to boycott because they wanted to get paid minimum wage of $15. And I just began to think, like, you know, I'm glad that you're finally taking up for yourselves, but what adult can really survive off of $15 an hour? And if you're getting paid less than that, I'm just like mind blown. Like, you have to be really struggling or living in a predicament that is less than desirable at that point. And so when do we begin to fight just as much for that $15 an hour as we fight for our dreams, as we fight for our 10x goals? Because if we don't fight for our dreams and our goals, then we are going to spend our lives building somebody else's. And that's not what I desire. And I hope that, you know, if you are in those types of positions, that truly you are in there because you feel like this is part of your purpose and it's part of your calling, and not just doing things to make ends meet. Like, there is so much more to life than just trying to get a paycheck. Understand that you are more than a paycheck, that your life is worth more than a paycheck. So tap into what your passions are and truly begin to live out your passions in your life. That's if you want to be fulfilled. And that's if you, and then not only do that, but then exceed what you desire by setting a 10x goal so that you can have more than what you have ever thought or imagined to be possible. Because once you put the work into it and once you put the action into it, that activates your faith. And then God looks down and says, you know what? Yes, I can trust you with this level of success. Let me go ahead and move some things around in your favor. And it's just amazing how things begin to work when you just change your mindset and say, you know what, I'm not going to think in a place of poverty. I'm not going to think in a place of brokenness. Here are what my goals are. And you really release that into the atmosphere, how things just begin to work out. I'm telling you guys, that is one of the best things that you can absolutely do, is begin to believe and trust and take action. Research your business and who you're going to partner with. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So you're welcome, cuz. All right. Now, number 11 is readily take action. Always be ready to take action. Successful people are ready to take action. Action is necessary in order to create success and can be the single defining quality that will enable you to make the list of successful people. No matter who you are and what you've done in life so far, you can develop this habit in order to enhance your success. See, some people, they are very smart, they're intelligent, they might have the skills, but they are not taking action. And as long as you're not taking action, then the person who was willing to get up and do something, they will always be ahead of you because you're just sitting at home watching TV. You're just sitting at home playing video games. You're sitting at home laying on the bed, scrolling through social media, talking about how bored you are. You're talking about how the Snapchat update is not your favorite and how you don't even want to use Snapchat anymore. And that has become your conversation for the past couple days because you are just absolutely disgusted with the Snapchat update. That's not taking action. That's doing nothing. And that's number one of the degrees that we should not be doing. So the degrees of action is doing nothing, retreating, and being average. And we know that being average doesn't get us anywhere because eventually those results will diminish because it cannot stand up against challenges. Awesome, Jessica. I'm glad you are enjoying this chapter. Then I know a lot of people have been upset and they have been allowing it to consume them. I'm like, if I hear one more long conversation about that, just even in passing, I'm just like, I feel sorry for these people because I'm like, you have nothing else to talk about. Like you genuinely have nothing further than going to work and then talking about the Snapchat update. Like, that's it? That's all you got? Nothing but complaining. You just gave me an idea. Awesome, Brian. I'm glad you got an idea. We have made a wrong decision. Yes, lucky minds didn't. Okay. So now, number 12, always say yes. And really, he's saying always say yes to the opportunities that are going to get you closer to your goals, to your dreams. And when you always say yes, you say yes until you get to the point where you just can't say yes anymore. Okay. So essentially what he is saying, good, Chris. All right. What he is saying is that, you want to avail yourself to opportunity up until the point where you are booked and you just have to say no. But he says, say yes to your spouse. He says, say yes to your business, say yes to opportunities to go speak somewhere. Just always say yes. He says, I never say no until I have to. Life is to be lived, something that becomes impossible to do when you're constantly saying no. You pass up on opportunity after opportunity because you say no all the time. And it's like, well, I don't want people calling on me and asking me and I don't have time. And for those same reasons, that's why you are where you are. So at some point, you have to make a decision on whether you are satisfied with your life and this is the way that you want to keep it, or if you are ready for more. And if you're ready for more, begin saying yes. Begin saying yes to different opportunities. Again, as I've told you all, just doing some acting things. I haven't really acted since I was in high school. I've done some dramatic pieces with my company, but I wasn't even the one who was acting. I had other people doing it. But saying yes to that has opened doors to other opportunities and it put me in connection with people that I would have otherwise not run into them, at least not at this point in my life, had I not said yes to opportunities. See, when you say yes to opportunities, sometimes those opportunities aren't even the main reason on why God has placed you in that space. Sometimes the reason that you are there is for the connections and the resources that you are going to get from saying yes to that opportunity. And that is what you have to keep in mind. And there was an earlier chapter where Grant was talking about he always gives his wife, who is an actress, the advice to take every opportunity, every call, casting call that she gets. He says, you need to go. Even though it may not be your perfect role, you never know who those people may know that you need to get in front of. And so always take it because you never know what connections you might get. Number 13, habitually commit. The successful fully and consistently commit to activities, some of which require them to put it all on the line. Always commit. And not just commit, but commit and see it through. Commit fully as though you are already successful and demonstrate that commitment to all those with and for whom you work. So it doesn't matter what level you're at. I don't care if you are the janitor at your place of work. If you want to move forward, you better do that thing and see it through and make somebody pay attention. Dominate that area until someone notices the job that you are doing, until they notice that you are a force to be reckoned with as a janitor, and make them come to you and say, hey, what is it that you really want to be doing? Because we want to support your dreams and we want to support your goals. And we believe that you have more skills and more talent and more value and more capabilities to being in this position. But they will not notice you, and that opportunity will not come if you do a halfway job at what it is that you are doing. Speaking of, what's the deal with rookies, inquiring minds? I was actually just doing some voiceovers on Saturday, and we are doing a premiere in March. So I'll keep you guys posted. Yeah, that's not on me. That's on the director. So she's just working on some things and wants to make sure that when she puts it out, it represents her best and us best and everybody best. So yeah, but March 14th, I want to say, is going to be the premiere. Yep. Okay, so 14, go all the way. Half measures. Well, let me even back up. He says in AA, there's a thing that they say is half measures achieved us nothing. Half measures achieved us nothing. So essentially, is if you don't go all the way with something and you just do a little bit the wrong way, then it's not going to help us. And so to go all the way, only those who go all the way and see things through until they're done experience the rewards that the workplace has to offer. Until an action is turned into a success, it is not done. Until an action has turned into success, it is not done. The reason why some of us have to go through the same things over and over and over and over again is because we haven't seen it through. We haven't gotten the reward. We haven't learned the lesson. And so we have to keep going through the situation over and over and over again until we get it. So the sooner that you see something all the way through and you get the reward and you've learned the lesson, the better off you will be. The more time you will save yourself headache, pain, and asking God, why? Why is this happening to me? Asking yourself, why do I keep going through this? Why do I keep having this situation in my life? Whatever that situation might be, you can stop asking that question sooner once you follow through and you learn what it is you were supposed to learn. Yeah, Jessica, you can come as soon as I get all of the final details. Okay, so 14, we said that. 15, focus on the now. So essentially with that one, stop procrastinating. There is a lot more that goes into that. It's like a whole page on that one. So make sure you grab the book. 16, demonstrate courage. Demonstrate courage. Courage is that quality of mind or spirit that compels people to face dangerous situations in spite of fear. So those very things that you're like, I can't do, those are the very things that you have to go over. Soldiers and heroes never refer to themselves as brave before they endure hardships. There are going to be hardships that come as you are approaching your 10x goals, but you have to go for it. You can't back down. You have to make sure that you are just all in it. You are absolutely all in, and demonstrate courage, because no one else cares about your goals like you should care about your goals. So if you don't demonstrate courage, why would somebody else demonstrate courage? My phone percentage is 92%. Thank you. Whoop, 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 whoop. I'm doing so good, aren't I, guys? All right. Now, courage comes to those who act, not to those who think, wait, and wonder. Courage comes to those who act, not to those who think, wait, and wonder. Things will always remain the same for you, and you will be the unsuccessful person if you just think, wait, and wonder. Well, should I partner with that person in business? I'm just going to think, wait, and wonder. Should I go and talk to this person about this situation. I'm just going to think, wait, and wonder. You know, we spend so much time thinking and waiting and wondering that the opportunity ends up passing us by. So guys, demonstrate courage. Thank you. Whoop, whoop. Wilbert, was that the slow clap for me having a good percentage? All right. So the next thing, 17, embrace change. And I added on that and prepare. So embrace change and prepare. That's what successful people do. Successful people love for things to change because they know that it's opportunity for them. It is absolutely opportunity. And let me see here. He says change is not something to resist. It's something that should keep you excited. So even thinking about, you know, when we get updates on our phone, maybe not Snapchat. Snapchat failed you all this time. I'm not a snapper or a chatter. I just have the app, but I don't use it. But nonetheless, when we think about our cell phones and the updates and the new phones that come out, everybody gets all excited about it. This is an industry where people, this is an industry where people are constantly making updates and changes because they're seeing it as an opportunity. And this is how we have to be, that we are constantly looking for the next change that is going to be viewed as exciting, as can't wait. It's the anticipated change. And maybe that's in your relationships and your marriage and your business, wherever. But change is good. That you don't have to be mundane in the same routine every day, unless that is what you like. But for most people, they don't like that and they get bored easily. And it's like, okay, well, what's the next thing? We don't want people to go, what's the next thing, and wander away from us. We want people to be like, what's the next thing? Because they are anticipating what we have to offer. So number 18, determine and take the right approach. Determine and take the right approach. I'm not going to go into that one. You all grab the book and read it. Number 19, break traditional ideas. I'm going to move on to 20. Be goal-oriented. A goal is some desirable objective, typically something yet to be achieved that a person or company needs in order to move forward. So be goal-oriented. You always want to be thinking about, how can I achieve this? What is the thing that you're even trying to achieve? In your business, what are you trying to achieve? In school, what are you trying to achieve? There are too many of us walking through and we don't have a definite goal of what it is that we're trying to reach. You know, even in relationships, it should be, how is it that you can increase this relationship and reaching certain goals? We just get together and we're like, oh, I'm just so in love with you and it's great. And we're exemplifying characteristics of a power couple, but we're not really doing anything powerful. We just like the way that we get likes, right? If that's your goal, it's going to go bye-bye really quick, right? Hey, what's going on, Tiana? But we have to make sure that we are setting solid goals and that we are setting goals that are going to take us further, going to move us forward and not keep us trapped in that bucket of crabs that we talked about earlier. It says far too many folks spend more time planning what they will get at the grocery store than they do setting the most important goals of their lives. I had to underline that part. I mean, isn't that true though? We will spend more time about what we are going to buy from the grocery store than what we actually put together for a plan for our lives. Man, that's deep. That we care so little about what God has given us that we're more concerned if we're going to get broccoli or asparagus or beans and rice versus what it is that God has put in us. Like, and it's saying, go and get it. Like those dreams that God put inside of you, those goals that are just burning. But instead of taking action and like planning, we spend more time with things that aren't even really that important. And now I'm not saying that you shouldn't think about what you're going to put in your body. What I'm saying is that you should spend more time thinking about how you are going to live your life and get the goals achieved than thinking about going to the grocery store. The name of the book is The 10X Rule. Thank you, Jessica. Thank you, Wilbur. Okay. And the author is Grant Cardone. Grant, and last name Cardone, Cardone. Okay. So be on a mission, 21. Be on a mission. Whereas the unsuccessful spend their lives thinking in terms of a job, successful people approach their activities as though they are on a religious mission, not as work or merely a job. Successful employees, employers, entrepreneurs, and market changers consider their daily activities as part of a more important mission that will change things significantly. So even if you are on a job, don't just think of it as I'm going to work, I am going to my job, but think of it as what I am going to do is so important that it is going to change lives, that it's going to make an impact in somebody's life. Period. You know, there are some people who are high school football coaches who they love what they do and they're so passionate about it. And even though we might look at it now when people are like, okay, I'm in high school, we're just like, oh, that's so cute, you're in high school. And then someone's the high school coach. But because they have made such an impact in those children's lives, they have movies made about them. That's what you need to do when you go to work. Like, begin to think about your job and your work as something that somebody is one day going to write a story about. How you motivated your clients, how you offered a service that was so amazing that people had to begin to think differently about their life and made them be inspired to be better and to do greater. So when you go to work, stop just thinking, okay, well, I'm just going to work because I'm trying to get a paycheck, because I need to pay my bills, because I need another reason to complain, right? Because that's why a lot of us go to work, because you just want to complain and be filled with drama. And that's the wrong thinking. When you go to work like, I am going to be the best banker ever. I am going to help so many people and educate them on how they need to put their money in what accounts they need to do it in, or how they can get the best loan if they're going to get a loan. And if you're a teacher, how you're truly going to impact the lives of those students. Everything that you do it as one unto God, right? Unto the Lord. And then think about, if someone made a movie about my life, what would my character be? What would my role be? Like, how would that be played out? Just think about it. And then you'll begin to go to work and you'll have a different mindset, because you'll be thinking about the rewards that you're able to get versus thinking about it as it being a punishment to you. If we would just do these small things to change our mindsets, our lives will be completely different. 22. Have a high level of motivation. Now, this kind of goes along with what I was saying in the very beginning, is that you have to have an intrinsic reason why you are doing what you are doing, because it has to be deep. And I can't motivate you. I can inspire you, but I can't motivate you to get up and take action. What happens has to come from within, and that is what gets you up. That is what gets you going. He says motivation is an inside job. I can't motivate you, and you can't motivate anyone else. You can encourage, you can challenge, you can inspire, but true motivation, the underlying reason for doing something, must come from within. Why you do what you do has to come from within. And if you don't have a deep reason other than you want to go so that you can pay your bills, think again. Think of something greater that you can put your time towards. Think of something that's going to allow you to live the life that you love. All right. 23, be interested in results. You can read the book for that one. 24, have big goals and dreams. I think we've talked a lot about that, so I'm not going to go into that one, but just know that you need to think big. If you really want to make an impact, if you really want to make a change, you can't be the average thinker. You have to think big. You have to think beyond. All right. Number 25, create your own reality. The successful are a lot like magicians. They don't deal in other people's realities. Instead, they are bent on creating a new reality for themselves that is different from the one others accept. We have to get out of this mindset of my life has to look like somebody else's life. What somebody else has achieved, that's what I need to achieve. No, you need to be thinking that my reality is what I have created because I'm living the life that I love. What that looks like for me. I travel the world, right? I travel the world speaking to people, inspiring them to live their best life. That's the reality you begin to create. Okay? Or whatever your dreams and your goals are. Now, we are going to move on to 26. Commit first, figure out later. And this is one of the things that holds a lot of us back, is that we feel like we have to know absolutely everything before we get involved with something. I want you to think about your jobs. When you first got your job, did you know absolutely everything there was to your position? I remember when I got my first job out of college, you know, like my first real job where I had like commas in my checks, right? Well, that job, I remember sitting in my desk for the first couple days just being like, okay, well, I guess I'll get on Facebook now because I have no idea what I need to do, right? Because I didn't know how to execute everything that needed to be done. Now, I'm not saying go get on Facebook, but I'm just saying I didn't know everything. Right, Wilbur, we don't know everything. And so the thing is, we said yes to the job first. We weren't like, okay, well, give me all of the training, give me everything that I need to know, walk me through these classes, and then I'm going to let you know if I'm going to accept this job or not. That's not how it went. So you commit first and figure it out later. I think somewhere we get things messed up when it comes to opportunities. I think it's really that we become fearful because we don't know how it's going to pan out. If we say a yes to a job and we commit first and figure it out later, we're like, okay, well, we know training is going to come and we know other people are going to provide some resources for us. But when it comes down to achieving our own goals, it's kind of like, well, if I commit, then who is going to teach me what I need to know? Like, you become dependent on yourself. And I think that scares people because we lack some of these things that we have been talking about that make people successful. That's my personal opinion. But, you know, we have to be able to commit first and be willing to learn and figure it out later. And this sometimes is what holds you so far back. And then you're watching other people and you're like, well, how are they making it? Why are they so far ahead? What are they doing that I'm not doing? What do they know that I don't know? It's sometimes simply the case that they committed and decided they were going to figure it out later, while you're still sitting there waiting, wandering, and trying to figure the whole thing out. And you don't have to do that. The next one, 27, and we're almost done here. He says to be highly ethical. Now, everybody might have their own set of ethics. Okay, but there is one thing at the very end of that section that he says that I want to iterate to us. He says, merely agreeing to be a father, husband, entrepreneur, or business owner, or whatever role you play, brings with it implied commitments and agreements. When you say that you are going to be a father, when you say you're going to be a business person, when you say you're going to be a husband, when you say you're going to be these things, then there is an expectation that comes along with it that you are actually going to do that role to the best of your ability. Like, you are going to work that role and be excellent in that role, and not just say, okay, I'm going to do what I have to do in order to get by. Okay, so he's saying, you know, the people who say they're a father, but they don't be in the role of a father, or to say that you are a husband and you're not in that role of the husband. He says that you are just like a criminal to him. The one who goes to jail for lying, the one who goes to jail for doing something bad, because he says you are just as bad as them, where you said that you were going to do something and you didn't, and now you have made a mess out of the situation. And he says you are equivalent to them in his mind. Like, he has such a high standard where he's like, I don't care if you actually went to jail for doing your bad thing or not. Like, if I look at your life and I see that you're not following through with the things that you say that you are committed to doing, then you are just as bad to me as that other person. And I'm not trusting you with my business. I'm not trusting you with my family. I'm not trusting you with anything because you don't even trust yourself enough to do what it is that you say that you're going to do. So he also says, however, even though he can't tell you what your ethical view is and how you look at things, he says, I would suggest that any disparity between what you know you can do and what you are achieving is an ethical issue. If you know that there is a gap between what you can do and what you're actually doing, it is an ethical issue. And he says, the most successful among us are driven by ethical obligation and motivation to do something significant that aligns with their potential. And one of the other things that I like that he said during this part is that when you aren't doing all that you know that you can do, you are not only disappointing yourself, but your family, your business, your community, the people who surround you, because you know you could be doing more. You know you could be at a higher level, but you're just choosing not to do it. And he says, when we think about success and what we've talked about in other chapters, that success is our obligation, our duty, and our responsibility. So when you make a conscious choice that you don't want to be successful, remember that you're not only letting yourself down, but you are letting everybody else down who is around you. When your family is struggling, and they don't have to be, and it's only because you won't get up and do the work, because you won't commit to success, you won't commit to your 10X goals, man, you could change an entire generation and generations to come if you would just get up and put in some effort, if you would just get up and put in some work. Number 28, be interested in the group. You can only do as well as the people around you. And that's as far as I'm going to go there. So you make sure you check out the book in order. And for those of you just chiming in, if you have not been on our book discussions, we are reading the 10X rule. And yes, I know it comes up backwards. I'm sorry, but it is the 10X rule. And somewhere in here, it's in the comments by Grant Cardone. Number 29, be dedicated to continuous learning. Even as I was reviewing my goals on tonight, I'm looking at my goals and then I'm identifying, okay, where are some areas that I need to work on, because those areas is where I need to be learning more. You know, what are the sales books that I can be reading? Where are the books on helping you to stop procrastination? Where are these things, or where are these different sessions that I need to be in so that I can strengthen my areas of weakness, my areas of improvement? Okay, so be dedicated to continuous learning. Be dedicated to continuous learning. And he goes on to say that the most successful CEOs are reported to read an average of 60 books and attend more than 6 conferences per year, whereas the average American worker reads an average of less than 1 book and makes 319 times less income. That's huge. That is huge. Successful people make time for conventions, symposiums, and reading. There has never been a book, audio program, download, webinar, or speech from which I have not benefited, even from the ones that sucked. Let me tell y'all, when you go to some of these conferences, the people who are presenting are horrible. And you're like, they're like the dry eye guy commercial. And it's just like, oh my gosh, if they say one more thing, it's like the most successful CEO. There's like no emotion. The delivery is just horrible. But the successful person does not focus on that. The successful person says, okay, this was some good information, and I can actually take these statistics and I can take the information that was provided and somehow use it to elevate myself. Now, the person who is unsuccessful says, oh my gosh, that was so boring and I just can't absolutely take it. Oh my gosh, like it is the worst. Don't ever make me go back ever again. Now, even though the successful person may not ever go back ever again, that is not what they are focused on. It's not what they're focused on. So you want to make sure that you join the ranks of the successful. All right. 30, be uncomfortable. Now, we have talked a lot about this in other chapters, so I'm not going to go into it. But just know that those things that make you fearful, those things that make you retreat are the very things that you need to get uncomfortable doing. Because there's probably something on the other side of that fear that you have that is going to get you to the next level, is going to get you to where you want to be. So be uncomfortable. That's number 30. 31, reach up in relationships. There's a saying that says that you are the average of the 5 people that you hang around. So if you look around you and see who you're spending most of your time with, you are going to be able to figure out where your life is going. And if you don't like it, then you need to switch it up. And so if you are the sharpest tool in the toolbox, then you need to hop on up out of there. You are in the wrong toolbox because you don't want to be the smartest person in the room. You don't want to be the person who knows everything because that means you're not learning anything. He uses the example, Grant, the author of the book, and he says, if there is a black belt, they can't learn from the white belt. That, they can be reminded of the basics, but it's not going to be any new skills that are learned. And so essentially you can be around people and they're going to remind you of the basics, but they're not going to be able to teach you anything new. And remember, if you want to solve problems, if you want to go to the next level, then you have to be thinking at a higher level in which you started at. Okay? And the way that you're going to do that is to be able to surround yourself in your different relationships with people who are higher than where you are. Now, maybe you don't have access to people right away who are higher than you are. So what I suggest is audio. And you can get on YouTube and you can listen to people who are more financially sound than you, who can give you more insight, who can give you more information. Every day you listen to them. Or maybe you're reading a book. Or maybe you're on a blog, whatever it is, but you begin to learn and study those people and allow those people to become the people who impact and influence your life. And then you have to weed out these other people who aren't allowing you to get to where you need to be. They are the people who are the crabs in the bucket, whereas you try and get out of the bucket to get to your next destination, they are pulling you back down. You don't want to be the crab stuck in the bucket in the uncomfortable place with all of your friends who are about to be eaten. Their life is about to be over with. They are in the bucket. Either that or they're going to become the pet. And then we know that in there, nothing really happens. People have crab pets. Pets as crabs. Anyway, nonetheless, the last one. Is this the last one? Yes, 32. He says, and it's be disciplined, okay? The last one is be disciplined. Remember, we are not talking about money here. This refers to being successful in all areas of life. And not to do so, you will not be able to compromise this thing called discipline. Discipline is an orderly, prescribed conduct that will get you what you want. It's a requirement for 10X players. Saltwater tanks. Yeah. Yes. Okay. So discipline is what you use to complete any activity until the activity, regardless of how uncomfortable, becomes your normal operating procedure. So discipline is what's going to help you through those uncomfortable moments. It's going to help you to take risks. It's going to help you to be dangerous. It's going to help you to reach up in relationships. It's going to help you to commit. Why? Because you are committing to behaviors that are going to help you to get to your end result. So even as you're playing a sport, right? You might be playing a sport and there is some conditioning that you might need to go through. What is going to help you make it through that conditioning is the fact that you are disciplining yourself. You are putting your body into subjection so that you can run the amount of time that you need to run. So when I was in high school, I had actually stopped playing basketball at this time, but the coaches had remembered me from middle school, and I might have played intramurals my freshman year. No, middle school. All right, so they came for me because they pretty much were not winning in life. And so they were trying to find some people to refresh the team. And so I was one of the people that they approached and recruited to come get on the team. And so I'm like, all right, cool. You know, I haven't played in a year, but I'll come out to, or I hadn't played in 2 years, but I'll come out to conditioning. So I'm out there conditioning and I'm running, and oh my goodness, I was out of shape, like so much out of shape, you know, where you like get that pain in your side. Okay, so I am the example of the unsuccessful person. I was like, oh, nah, like we not, this is a no-go. Like there will be no pain in my side. The other girls thought I was playing. Like, if you don't want to play, just say you don't want to play. I'm like, nah, I really got this. Like I thought something was wrong with me for real. I was just out of shape. And then after I found out that I was just out of shape, I was like, well, I'm not going back to that. Like, I don't want to get uncomfortable to make it on this team. That's not what's happening for me. And see, we can't be that way when we really want something in life, when we really have our goals and things that we want to achieve. Even though we might have to go through some pain, we might have some growing moments where sometimes where we're being stretched, sometimes that feel uncomfortable, we have to be disciplined enough to make it through. Now, another example would be my brother was playing football and he was out there, you know, they're running. And it got to a point for him where he actually begins to like throw up while he's on the field. But for him, he was like, no, I'm not giving up because I want to be on this team. I want to play football. And so that's what I'm going to do. And he pushed through it and he made the team. And it's like, woo, 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 right? But me, I was like, nah, it ain't happening. But that was the difference between someone being disciplined and someone not being disciplined. Even though I wanted to play on the team, I didn't really have a good enough reason on the inside in why to keep going. I wasn't disciplined enough to say, you know what, I'm willing to go through this conditioning. Whereas my brother said, I'm going through the conditioning, I'm going through the coaching, I will do the training, I will do what it takes to make it on this team. And I don't care if it makes me uncomfortable. I don't care if I have to sacrifice. I don't even care if I'm embarrassed, because I'm sure that there was some embarrassment that he experienced while he was out there on that field, letting it all go. But he was determined. And are you determined enough? Are you disciplined enough in your mind, in your body, physically, spiritually, mentally, and financially? Are you disciplined enough to be able to reach your goals? If not, you've got to get disciplined. It says discipline is what you use to complete any activity until the activity, regardless of how uncomfortable, becomes your normal operating procedure. This is what we do. We keep going until this is the way that we operate. That's how you dominate. That's how you become a force to be reckoned with. So in closing, he says, be aware of what the list is. So the 32 characteristics that we just went through, keep it close to you and make a new commitment of making these techniques part of who you are rather than just something that you merely do. Don't just make it something that you do, but make it part of who you are. So that when people say, well, who is Wilbert? Who is Jessica? Who is Chauncey? Who is Tiana? Who is Christopher? Who are you? That they begin to say that these are people who are willing to step outside of their comfort zone. These people who are people who reach up. These are people who are dedicated to continuously learning. These are people who are committed to success. Don't just, let me see, none of these on this list is a superhuman quality. Every single one is attainable. Don't just use one or two of the techniques. Start thinking and operating with them, and they will become part of you. Use them all. So, guys, that is the end of chapter 22. So we've got one more chapter and we'll do our drawing on tomorrow. So that'll be our final drawing as well. So make sure you share this video. If you're watching this live, drop a 1. If you're catching this on replay, drop a 2. But this is the 10X rule by Grant Cardone. And yes, guys, I am so sorry that it is backwards. My phone is in selfie mode, and that's what happens. Words become backwards when you're in selfie mode. So again, thank you guys so much for hopping on here, and especially to those of you who have been so faithful throughout this book discussion. But that is my time for tonight. So I'm Camille Aiko, and I hope that you are living the life that you love, spiritually, mentally, physically, and financially. Good night.